So yesterday was Palm Sunday, and I will also say, um, over. Like recently we seen that Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson um, was nominated, let alone appointed, to the Supreme Court, and I am willing to bet. I am willing to bet that pretty much a lot a lot of black churches yesterday were jumping and shouting and dancing, let alone praising, let alone supposedly thanking God that now we got a black female justice um, in the Supreme Court. And I'm willing to bet this right here because a lot of people, I mean, because people don't know that KB, KBG is literally one of those progressive leftist judges out there. And KBJ literally is being praised because of skin color, not her actual accolades. And people should know that KBJ's accolades happen to be that she is apparently soft on crime, especially to sick buffoons that wanna indoctrinate, let alone hurt people's children. And over in Chicago, yeah, I have to bring up Chicago again. There's a pastor by the name of Ira Ackery who all of a sudden wants to chant this say her name nonsense. Going like, say her name, Ketanji Jackson Brown. And I'm appalled. I am very appalled because this is not how the church is supposed to be. So, this is how I feel. I think the modern day black church is too far gone. Literally too far gone to be biblically based. And why do I say that? Well, when it comes to most of these black pastors out here that happens to be in support of progressive politics, and especially when they're, and then you got these same particular pastors and churches that have focused on skin color, worshiping skin color, as opposed to worshiping God. if I remember correctly, I thought the Bible says, which happened to be what, which what I'm going to say, it happens to be one of the 10 Commandments. As a matter of fact, two of them. I thought the Bible says, "You should have no other gods before me," referring to the Lord. You should have no other gods before God Himself. And I also thought the two-edged sword basically says, "You should not make of yourselves any graven image," meaning that you should not worship idols. And, when it comes to focusing on skin color, that is worshiping an idol god. And the problem is, I see a lot of black churches nowadays only focusing on that aspect. Literally threw the whole thing about biblical preaching and sound doctrine out of the window. I also thought the two-edged sword basically says, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. As a matter of fact, it says that in the book of Proverbs and in the book of James. Look it up. And, I do feel that nowadays the black church has become, the modern day black church has become the Laodicean church as described in the book of Revelation, the 3rd chapter, verses 14 and 18, where they are governed by the people. And why is that? Because when the pandemic first started back in 2020, the majority of black churches all across the country were shut down. And now, since they want to reopen, they want to focus on all this up, they want to focus on preaching progressive politics. They're subscribing to the progressive leftist agenda. Well, that is absurd. And that is, like I said earlier, that is very appalling. Here in Madison, Wisconsin, which is a very progressive liberal, very progressive leftist run hellhole, most of the black churches in the area happen to be super woke, and they only care about preaching this victimhood nonsense, and every single time. It's been like that ever since I first moved here back in 2014. There's one pastor who happens to be a judge here in Madison. A justice here in Madison. And he called himself marrying a same-sex couple in his church. It's sad. But let me go back to why I think the modern day black church happens to go further astray from God, because it seems like it's getting that way. You know, sound doctrine has been trampled upon in favor of wokeness and progressivism. And it's sad. Let's not even get started on that church in suburban Chicago where they called themselves fasting during Lent over whiteness. I've talked about that in a previous video a couple of days ago. But that will wrap this up. I'm Chuck Johnson, a.k.a. Kid Thunder. You guys have a wonderful day.